Hi, I'm Ben. Welcome back to my channel. Let's add a little bit of fun to our 2024 reading plans. Rarely do I get to announce anything on my channel, but I'm delighted today to announce the Read Good Challenge for 2024. Where this came from was that I was looking for something interesting to do with my channel in my second year on booktube. And so a while back I put some ideas up in a poll on my community tab, and I'll put the results here, but the winner was some reading prompts that everyone could join in with. Thank you for not voting Patreon, because I think I'd have a minor nervous breakdown if I had to produce even more content for the channel. There's nothing too radical here. We've got 12 prompts for 12 months of the year. I had quite a lot of fun putting them together, so hopefully you will enjoy them too. And the purpose of the video today is just to run through each of the prompts, explain what they are, and provide some reading suggestions for books that might be a good fit for each one. It might just be me that does the challenge, and that's absolutely fine because it's just a bit of fun. But if you do want to join in, I will link in the description to a Storygraph challenge that you can join and add books to. I'll also link some materials that I've created if you fancy tracking your progress doing the challenge on Instagram stories, or there's also a printer friendly option if you want to print something out and you could stick that in a notebook and just fill it out over the course of the year. But if there is anything else that you would like to see, I can knock something together pretty quickly, so do let me know in the comments. One thing you might notice about the prompts is that there are none that encourage you to specifically read underrepresented authors. So there's no prompt around reading LGBTQ+, there's no prompt around reading Black, Asian or Indigenous authors. And that was kind of on purpose because I don't want those books to feel like a box ticking exercise. I would encourage you to think about options that fall into those categories for every single month of the year. If you consider those authors and you still read someone who is straight and white, that is absolutely fine. I've got plenty of those on my shelves. The important thing is just to be purposeful with your reading choices. And with that, let's get on with the prompts. In the Read Good Challenge, January is Annuary, and your task here is to read a book by someone named Anne. The reason for this is kind of twofold. One is just, I love a terrible pun, and two, I just noticed that there are so many authors called Anne. With an E, without an E, Annie, all fine by me. Ooh, that was a bit of a rhyme. I'd probably draw the line at an Annabelle or an Angela, and definitely no Andrews. But yeah, if you're into your literary fiction, you've got Anne Tyler, Anne Enright, Anne Patchett. If you want some translated work, you could turn to Anne Yu or Annie Ernaux, which is a good non-fiction option too. If you're looking for some short fiction, Annie Proulx could be a good choice. Or if you're into your thrillers, then maybe you want to turn to Anne Cleeves. I've shopped my shelves a little bit, and I think two options that I'm thinking about are The Years by Annie Ernaux. I'm keen to get to her since she won the Nobel Prize, but I haven't had a chance yet. Or Tom Lake by Anne Patchett. And I think I'm going to go for like an Anne Patchett sensory overload here because I've got the audiobook, which is narrated by Meryl Streep. So I might do like a listen to and read along at the same time kind of deal. And who can resist that beautiful cover? Okay, in February we're already into dangerously bad pun territory because February is Fever-uary, and in this month I want you to read something that is based on some sort of pandemic or some post-apocalyptic scenario. Hopefully it's not too soon since COVID, but we'll give it a shot. The main reason this prompt exists is because I just want to make myself read Severance by Lingmar because I've had this on my shelf for quite a while now and I've heard amazing things about it. I really want to read it, and so this is going to give me the boost to do so. If you've already read Severance or you want to read something a little bit different, there are tons of options out there, including things like The Stand by Stephen King, although that is a bit of a chunkster and it is the shortest month of the year, The Road by Cormac McCarthy, or possibly The Land of Milk and Honey by C. Pam Zhong. If you want something a little bit more based in reality, you could turn to something like The Great Believers by Rebecca Mackay, or for a non-fiction account of the HIV/AIDS crisis, then How to Survive a Plague by David France is supposed to be a really fantastic, gripping read. March is Oscars season, and I really enjoy the Oscars. I like to sort of follow the runners and riders, see what's going to win big at the awards. Last year I tried to watch all of the Best Picture nominees and I just missed out on a few of them. This year it's my ambition to watch all 10, and I have high hopes that I'm going to nail it. But our reading challenge for this month is to read a book that has had an Oscar nominated film based on it. I'm primarily thinking of the Best Adapted Screenplay Oscar, but any category is fine. Best Picture, Best Director, whatever you want. If we were only looking at potential Oscar nominees for 2024's ceremony, then we've got some great picks available to us. The Colour Purple by Alice Walker, Killers of the Flower Moon by David Gran, or if you're into a bit of YA, then Judy Blume's Are You There, God It's Me, Margaret. There are tons more just in this year, but I'm happy for you to look back and do any year you please. You will get some bonus points, which actually don't count for anything except your own self-esteem, but you will get some bonus points if you also watch the film. April will bring us the next Women's Prize longlist and a new batch of great fiction written by women for us to dive into. And what I'd like you to do in April is read a previous winner of the Women's Prize. Some options on my shelves that I might turn to include The Power by Naomi Alderman, A Girl is a Half-Formed Thing by Emma McBride. I'm a little bit scared of this one though because covers. I read the first few pages and it seems quite intimidating, but I know some people absolutely love this, and clearly the judging panel did. And possibly the one that I am most likely to turn to because I'm most excited about it would be Ruth Ozeki's The Book of Form and Emptiness. This has sat on my bedside table for about a year now, and I would really like to finally get the push to pick it up. Those are just 3 choices that I already have on my shelves. I will link in the description to a page where you can see all of the previous winners so you can get a view of the full range of options available. In May, we're back to the puns with magical realism. And you guessed it, you need to read a book that is magical realism. It's not a genre that I tend to turn to too much. I think it often has a little bit of whimsy, but I want to push myself to read more of it, and so I thought this was a great opportunity. Some books I already have that are in contention for me would be 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, This One Sky Day by Leonie Ross, which I think was nominated for the Women's Prize not that long ago, or 2022's Booker Prize winner, The Seven Moons of Marley Almeida by Cheyenne Talaka. All of those are books that I'm excited about, but I am also potentially going to be going to Japan in May, and I know that there are a lot of Japanese authors who dabble in this genre, so that could be a good opportunity for me as well. Is there a book on your shelves that's been there for about 10 years and you still haven't gotten around to it? Have you tried on multiple occasions to read War and Peace and given up each time? Maybe you've told everyone that you've already read War and Peace, but you haven't, you little fibber. Or perhaps you're the only person in the world who still has not read Jane Eyre. Well, June is for you because June is Reading Shame Forgiveness Month. This is a month where, with no guilt or judgment, you can finally dissipate that reading cloud that's been hanging over your head. This is going to be super personal to every person, which I think is quite fun, but for me, I think it might be the month when I finally tackle Jane Eyre. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that they don't like this book. It's one that I've been meaning to read for a really long time. And so I am excited to get around to it at last. I would love to hear what immediately comes to mind for you when you think of your own personal reading shame that you'd like to vanquish. So do let me know in the comments if you've got any initial ideas for this one. July's a pretty simple one. It's just to read a work of translated fiction. I know August is also Women in Translation Month, but hey, I have other ideas for August, so I've decided to put this in July. Some options on my shelves are The Vegetarian by Han Kang, which I've had for a while and still not gotten around to. I was given for my birthday earlier this year All the Lovers in the Night by Mieko Kawakami, and then a book that it seems to me every single person who ever reads it absolutely falls in love with it. I've got Claudia Pinheiro's Elena Knows. Loads of translated fiction out there, endless options, so hopefully you'll find something that fits. Sliding into August, we'll be back on the Booker train again, and what I'd like you to do is read a book that has been nominated for the Booker Prize. I'm mainly doing this just to cover me in case all I'm reading in August 2024 is Booker Prize nominees for that year, but that's not the intention here. You don't need to go out and buy new books. I would like you to just read a book from any year that has been nominated but not won the Booker Prize. Again, I'll put a link to a full list of options in the description. There are tons and tons and tons of titles that you can choose from. Some options I've got on my shelves include No Violet Bulawayo's We Need New Names, The Reluctant Fundamentalist by Mohsin Hamid, Skippy Dies by Paul Murray, which I picked up in a charity shop because I loved The Bee Sting so much and I found this close to mint condition copy, which I'm very excited to get to. Eileen by Atessa Moshfegh, for all you Moshfegh heads out there. This could also be a good option for March, for the Oscar nominee month, because this has been turned into a film this year that critics have been raving about, and it's likely to get nommed for at least a few awards, even if they're minor ones. And Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies by Maddie Mortimer, which was nominated a couple of years ago, and people absolutely love it. September is traditionally Shorty September, where you turn to shorter novels and novellas, and I'm kind of in keeping with that theme, but a little twist on it. I'd like you to read a short story collection. Some that I'm keen to get to include Sabasam Send Nudes, Mark Haddon's The Pier Falls, which I've read a few of the stories from this. The first one is just this really quite amazing but horrific fictionalized account of a real accident that happened when a ferry crashed into a pier in the UK. But yeah, I'd love to come back and finish the rest of these stories because I really do rate Mark Haddon. I think he's a top-notch author. And then a collection that I have read but would highly, highly recommend is Kazuo Ishiguro's Nocturnes. It's got his trademark, empathetic, very quiet writing with just exceptional character work. And so I think if you haven't read this and you're a fan of Ishiguro's work, it's definitely worth your time. In October, I'm looking for us all to just own up to the fact that we do judge books by their covers. I do it, we all do it. Let's just stop lying to ourselves. And so I have christened October Ugtober, and I'd like you to read a book with an ugly cover. This will obviously vary region to region. In some regions, a book will have really horrendously ugly cover, and it might have a really nice cover in another location. I want you to go by the cover that's in front of you. So for me, I've got a few options, including A Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan. I think this is just a full-on graphic design is my passion abomination. It's got such a weird mix of styles. It's got like some default font options. I despise it, but I've heard great things about the book. I've got A Housemaid of Dawn by N. Scott Momaday. This probably isn't super ugly, but it is very old-fashioned and I wouldn't be drawn to it normally. But it has won the Pulitzer Prize, so it must have something worth reading going on. And then maybe winning the prize for the biggest gap between my hatred for the cover and my love for what's contained within it is The Promise by Damon Galgut. Just a terrible, terrible cover that does a disservice to the beauty that is contained within. November's prompt is one that scares me a little bit, to be totally honest. And that's because it's no paragraph break Vember. Also a bit of a mouthful as it happens. I just find when I flip open a book and I find these walls of text with very few paragraphs, it immediately turns me off of a book and I don't really want to read it. But because I've been doing some prize related reading this year, it's forced me to engage with some of these books with very few paragraphs. And I've found that I've really enjoyed them and found them quite gripping. So some examples of this would be Alice at the Fire by Nobel Prize winning Jon Fusser. This has not too many paragraph breaks, but it makes for like this really engrossing story, as well as the Booker Prize winner from this year, Prophet Song by Paul Lynch. Again, nary a paragraph break in sight. If you're feeling even braver than I am, you might turn to something like Ducks Newburyport by Lucy Ellman, but I think even that is a step too far for me. 1,000 pages without a full stop, maybe next time. What I think might be high up on my list though is a previous Booker Prize winner, and that is Milkman by Anna Burns. I've seen many people rate this as one of their favourite ever Booker winners, and so I am very keen to get over myself, basically, stop being scared of walls of text and give this gem a go. In the final month of the year, I've decided to give everyone a bit of a break and make it easy for anyone doing some other reading challenges, not mess with the classic and stick with in December. Your prompt here is to read a book from an indie press. There are so many indie presses out there doing great work. We are just spoiled for choice, but some that are releasing stuff in the UK at the moment that you could turn to include Indigo Press. I've got Cold Enough for Snow here. Perrine Press, which produce these really gorgeous books. I've got Body Kintsugi by Senka Maric. Charco Press, which have been on a bit of a roll lately. The Indigo Press, who have produced some of my favourite works of fiction this year, including Rian Bell and Pearl. Weatherglass Books, I've got The Way the Day Breaks here. And Other Stories, I've got Ti Amo by Hannah Osterbeck. But yeah, there are tons out there. There's plenty that I haven't mentioned, plenty US presses as well. Just a great opportunity to support some smaller publishers doing some really great work to find and bring to our attention exciting new fiction that is pushing the boundaries of what's possible with the novel. Those are the 12 prompts and they are going to be guiding my reading this year. I'm really looking forward to it. If I've piqued your interest and you fancy joining in too, as mentioned, links to everything, including the Storygraph and some other resources, will be in the description. I'd love to hear if you have any ideas for any of the months. Please do drop a comment and let me know. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit like, and if you want to subscribe and you're not yet following this channel, then hit subscribe and you'll get a new video from me about once a week. But until next time, toodles.